Good.
Well, why don't you start by telling us how the hell this happened?
Holy fuck, right? I'll tell you, it's a really funny story. So I was in Australia promoting The Walking Dead, and I was getting on a plane to fly back, and I'm like, I need something to read on the plane just because it's, a 900-hour flight. And I'm sitting at the airport, and I see this book, and it's called Nights of the Living Dead. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And I look it up, and it's a series of short stories written about, that would have taken place the same night that Night of the Living Dead took place. And I'm like, I love that shit. So I buy the book. Joe Lansdale has a story in it. And Craig Engler, who's our executive at Shudder over there, had a story in it. And I loved the story, and I kind of fell in love with it. And I reached out and said, listen, can I just option it and make a short? I just want to make a short out of it. I didn't even know what the fuck I was going to do with it. But it was really neat. And then they turned around and said, we're trying to revive Creepshow. And I went, wait, my Creepshow? Creepshow? I think it's my Creepshow. And they're like, yeah, would you be interested in being the showrunner and the creative behind it? I went, my Creepshow? I'm so it was one of those weird things of being in the right place at the right time. And that's how it happened. I mean, it was just the next thing you know, we have the rights. Wait, really? And then I get to turn around and call all of my directing friends and writing friends and acting friends. I'm like, guys, we're making Creepshow, and we're gonna, so I got to read tons of awesome stories, and I met Josh Mallerman, and I called Steve King and said, listen, it's not Creepshow without a Steve King story. He's like, all right, great. He goes, here's one, and he gave us Survivor Type, which, if you don't know the story, it's about a guy who's marooned on a desert island that's the size of this room, and he starts eating himself piece by piece to survive. And he's like, this is a perfect story for you. And I was like, fuck. So he gave me the story. I wrote the script for it and loved it. And then when we started shooting, we were like, well, how the hell are we going to make it? It was super fun to write, but on our budget, we were like, how the hell are we going to make it? So I was like, hey, can I have another story? And he said, what do you have in mind? And I said, Gray Matter. And he gave me that story. So we made Gray Matter, which was the one that, one of the episodes I directed with Giancarlo and Tobin and Adrian. So, crazy. But, I was just telling these guys, the first movie set I ever visited was Creepshow. I grew up in Pittsburgh. And ironically, my uncle's an actor, and he was in the Crazies. So him and George were friends. So when I accidentally bumped into George Romero on a family vacation, I was like, hey, my Uncle Sam was in the Crazies. And that was my pickup line for George Romero. Hey, my uncle. And I was 15 years old. So when they started shooting Creepshow, they invited me to the set to come visit. So I keep thinking about the 16-year-old me that would be sitting here the day he was driving to set for Creepshow next to the 40 years later head exploding version of but it was fascinating because I'll never forget. I went to the set and I didn't know where to go because I didn't know where do you go on a movie set? It was a gymnasium and a high school. I was like, where the fuck? So I walk into this big gymnasium and there's all this raw wood and studs and all this stuff, and I turn the corner and all of a sudden I'm in the university set from The Crate under the steps where the creature was. And it was that moment I went, wait a minute, you can turn a corner and you're in a new world. Outside it was just wood and hammers and guys smoking cigarettes, and then you go around the corner, and I was so fascinated with the idea that I just stepped from one world to another, and that there were guys that was 30 minutes from my house. I didn't live in Hollywood. So I had no idea. And George would invite me to set, and that's the first day I met Tom Savini. I walked into his lab, and he was there making Fluffy, and that was when I met Tom and met Adrian, and I just kept going to visit over and over again. And they offered me a job. They're like, hey, do you want be a production assistant? I'm like, well, I'm in high school, and I don't know if my dad would. I don't know. So I stayed in touch with them. So when Day of the Dead came along, and they're like, hey, we got a green light for Day of the Dead. I'm like, first of all, it's the sequel to Dawn of the Dead, which is the greatest movie ever made. That and Jaws kind of switch sometimes, but still. And they said, do you want a job? And I'm like, well, I already turned down a job at Creepshow like an idiot, so now I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. So that's how my relationship with George began, and my relationship with Tom Savini began, and now I'm continuing that love affair, I guess you could call it.
The scripts that you're reading and stuff, are you looking at them and thinking, would George have done this for Creepshow?
Oh yeah. Well, one of the fun things is the opportunity. To hold on, I lost my train of thought for a split second. To work with a lot of the people that worked on the original Creepshow. John Harrison, who did the music, is also a writer and a director. So I called him. I'm like, hey, do you want to do Creepshow with me? So he directed 2 episodes, and then he wrote the episode that Trish is in with me. And then, I loved, and John would say to me, like, all the time, Dad, George would have loved this. He loved this story. And then Tina, his daughter, came to set. And one day she came and sat in my office, and she said, Dad would be so proud. And I, got goosebumps. I was like... So if you look at the poster for Creepshow on the TV, there's a little frame picture at the last minute. I was like, fuck, and I put George's headshot from Dawn of the Dead on top of the television, just because that's what we do.
So this is an anthology. So
yes.
Can you talk a little bit about...
I mean, I know the piece I did on EW, which is talked about this is the hardest thing I ever did, but I didn't know how to do it any other way other than to embrace, they greenlit 6 episodes. So a normal person would be like, okay, so we need 6 scripts. My original plan was, no, we're going to do 18 scripts, and I want to do 3 stories per episode. So the 44 minutes. So you figure you have one, and I like the idea the old Night Gallery where one was 4 minutes and one was 9 minutes, and I was like, that would be great because not every story needs to be the same. So our first day of production, you're out of your fucking mind. There's no way that you can do that. So I went, well, okay, we'll do 12 stories then. But imagine, so we had 3.5 days to shoot each episode. So every 3.5 days, we had a new cast, new sets, and the directors would shoot 2 segments. And every night at 3 in the morning, I would wake up going, what was I thinking? And somebody said, listen, if you don't feel that, then you're not reaching high enough. And I found a lot of solace in my, a lot of hair fell out. It doesn't look like a lot of hair fell out, but a lot of hair fell out while we were shooting the movie because I was so freaked out. But I was like, this is my chance. This is my chance to tell the stories that I had wanted to tell. So to have Roxanne Benjamin and David Bruckner and John Harrison, and I called Savini, and Tom hasn't directed since Night Living Dead, and I'm like, dude, you want to come direct an episode of Creepshow? And he was like, really? I'm like, yeah, you know how to. You've been on some of the greatest movie sets ever. So I feel like this was just my chance, my chance to hire, to work with Joe Hill and Joe Lansdale and Steve King, and fuck, seriously, the young 40-year-ago Greg Nicotero, there's fucking brains all over this room because his head exploded. So. Well, I think the funniest thing is, I've been in this business for a long time, and I have a lot of good friends. So, I called Josh Brolin, and I called Simon Pegg, and I was like, dude, come do this. And Simon's like, fuck, I'm doing it. I said, I need you for 3 days. And he's like, I'm shooting a movie. And Josh was going over to Europe, but they were all even Jeffrey and Norman were like, we want to be in Creepshow. And I'm like, but I just assume I just assumed that you guys would like want to like have a little bit of time off. And Jeffrey was like mad at me for a minute, like that, because when I wrote Survivor Type, he would have been fucking perfect for it. John Bernthal, you know what I mean? Like, my friends all like picked up the phone, and that meant the world to me. Even if their schedules didn't allow, you know, I talked to Lucy Liu and Rosario Dawson and Jesse Eisenberg, and like I'm like, this is my chance. I'm gonna call fucking everybody. Even if I drove past them, set they were working, I would like pick up the phone and like, hey, what do you think about this? So that was kind of fun, and that was a little nerve-wracking for me because, you know, I was like, well, that's a little presumptuous. But they all were like, dude, good luck, man. We can't wait. And that's how Giancarlo came on, and that's how Adrian came on, and that's how Tobin came on. I just kind of went, hey, do you want to come and spend 3.5 of the longest fucking days of your life with me? Like the scene with we have one scene that runs concurrent in Gray Matter. And it's Tobin and Giancarlo and Adrian in the Night Owl Diner, which is where Steve based the story. We shot like 13 pages in one day. And they were like, is it always like this? And I'm like, I don't know any other way to make the episode. And like, I think we had to stop shooting for like 15 minutes because there was a lightning strike. And I was like, we can't stop. And Adrian's like, I just need a breath. I was like, I felt I was like dragging her, running around, but you know, it was. And I watch the episodes now, and there's no fucking way anybody will believe that we shot that in 3.5 days. There's no way. People would be like, no, you don't do that.
I'm kicking you out.
I feel like I just start, and you make me leave.
See, it's 11 minutes and 51 seconds. You didn't just start. Well, let's
Felt-
keep it around.